Hello, my little love. Did you have a good day today? I hope something made you smile. Now take a slow breath, relax your shoulders, and let your mind get soft and quiet. It's time for a gentle bedtime story. Once upon a time, in a peaceful little village where the cobblestone streets wound gently between cozy cottages, there lived a kind shoemaker and his wife. Their small workshop sat at the corner of the quietest lane, where morning sunlight streamed through the window like honey, and where the evening air always smelled of fresh bread from the bakery next door. The shoemaker had gentle hands that had crafted beautiful shoes for many years, stitching each pair with care and humming soft melodies as he worked. But as time passed, fewer and fewer people came to his shop. Not because his shoes weren't wonderful, but simply because the world had changed in quiet ways. The shoemaker and his wife didn't worry too much. They had each other, and they had their little home, and at night they would sit by the warm glow of their fireplace, sharing stories and sipping chamomile tea, feeling grateful for the simple softness of their days together. One evening, as autumn leaves drifted past their window like whispers, the shoemaker looked at his workbench and saw he had just enough leather left to make one final pair of shoes. He ran his weathered fingers over the smooth material and smiled a small, peaceful smile. In the morning, he thought, I will make the most beautiful shoes I can, and perhaps they will find someone who needs them. With that gentle thought warming his heart, he carefully laid out the leather on his workbench, preparing everything he would need. Then he and his wife climbed the creaky wooden stairs to their bedroom, where quilts soft as clouds awaited them, and they drifted into dreams beneath the patient gaze of the stars. When the first golden rays of sunrise touched the workshop window, the shoemaker came downstairs, yawning and stretching, ready to begin his work. But when he reached his workbench, he stopped and blinked in wonder. There, sitting perfectly on the wooden surface, was the most exquisite pair of shoes he had ever seen. The stitching was finer than spider silk. The leather gleamed like morning dew on rose petals. Every curve and line showed such tender care that the shoemaker felt his eyes grow warm with tears of amazement. His wife came down and gasped softly at the sight. Together they turned the shoes this way and that, marveling at their beauty. Who could have made them? How? The questions floated gently in the air like dandelion seeds, but there were no answers, only wonder. That very afternoon, a traveler passing through the village noticed the shoes displayed in the window. She came inside and held them carefully, her face lighting up with joy. "These are exactly what I've been searching for," she said in a voice soft as wind through willows. She paid the shoemaker more than he had dared hope, enough to buy leather for 2 more pairs of shoes. The shoemaker and his wife looked at each other with grateful, sparkling eyes. That evening, the shoemaker cut the leather for 2 new pairs, laying out the pieces just as he had before. He patted the workbench gently, as if thanking it for its steady service over all these years. Then once again, he and his wife climbed the stairs, their hearts full of quiet curiosity and hope. Morning came with birdsong, and once again, when the shoemaker descended to his workshop, 2 perfect pairs of shoes waited for him. One pair was deep brown like acorns in autumn, with delicate swirls stitched along the sides. The other was soft gray like dove feathers, with tiny flowers embroidered near the toes. Both were so lovely they seemed almost to glow in the gentle morning light. The shoemaker placed them in his window, and before noon, both pairs had found happy new owners. This continued day after day, each night the shoemaker preparing the leather, each morning finding finished shoes more beautiful than he could have imagined. The workshop began to feel magical, filled with an invisible warmth that made even the dust motes dancing in the sunbeams seem to shimmer with kindness. As winter began to settle over the village, bringing early darkness and frost that painted ferns on the window panes, the shoemaker and his wife found themselves wondering more and more about their mysterious helpers. One evening, as snowflakes began their slow descent from the purple sky, the wife said gently, "Perhaps tonight we could stay awake and discover who has been so kind to us. I would very much like to thank them." The shoemaker nodded, his eyes crinkling with affection for his thoughtful wife. So that night, after preparing the leather as always, they didn't climb the stairs. Instead, they hid themselves quietly behind a tall cupboard in the corner of the workshop. Wrapping themselves in a soft blanket and waiting as the hours grew deeper and the moon rose high and round as a pearl. The village clock tower chimed midnight with gentle bronze notes that faded into the stillness. And then, in the hush that followed, the shoemaker and his wife heard the softest sound, like the whisper of leaves. Settling, like the brush of moth wings against petals, two tiny figures appeared on the workbench, no taller than the shoemaker's hand. They were elves, delicate and quick, with eyes that sparkled like dewdrops catching starlight. The elves wore clothes that were quite worn and patched, but their movements were graceful and their tiny faces glowed with concentration and joy. They picked up the pieces of leather and began to work, their small fingers moving with such love and care that every stitch seemed to carry a blessing. They hummed as they worked, a melody so sweet and ancient that it seemed to come from the earth itself. From the roots of old trees and the hearts of sleeping flowers. The shoemaker and his wife watched in absolute wonder, hardly daring to breathe. They saw how the elves would pause sometimes to admire their work, nodding to each other with satisfaction. They saw how gently the creatures handled each tool, as if every hammer and awl were precious. Most of all, they felt the pure kindness radiating from these small magical beings, a warmth that filled the workshop like invisible sunlight. When the shoes were finished, perfect and beautiful, the elves hopped down from the workbench as lightly as snowflakes and disappeared into the shadows, leaving only the faintest shimmer in the air where they had been. The shoemaker and his wife emerged from their hiding place, holding hands, their hearts so full of gratitude and tenderness they could barely speak. Finally, the wife whispered, "They have given us so much, and yet they have so little. Did you see their clothes? We must do something kind for them in return." The shoemaker squeezed her hand gently and nodded, already knowing what they must do. All the next day, instead of cutting leather for shoes, they worked on a different project. The wife, whose fingers were skilled with needle and thread, sewed two tiny outfits from the softest fabrics she could find. She made little shirts from cloth as blue as forget-me-nots, and trousers from material as green as new grass in spring. She added tiny pockets and the most delicate buttons carved from shells. Meanwhile, the shoemaker crafted two pairs of the smallest shoes imaginable, using his finest leather and softest wool for lining. He stitched them with golden thread, making sure every seam was smooth and comfortable. As they worked, they poured all their love and thankfulness into these gifts, thinking of the elves' kindness, their gentle humming, their joyful dedication. The winter afternoon faded into evening, and they finished just as the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky. That night, instead of laying out leather, they placed the tiny clothes and shoes on the workbench, arranging them carefully and adding a small note that read simply, "With grateful hearts and warm wishes." Then once again they hid behind the cupboard, tucking themselves in their blanket, waiting with excited, nervous hearts. Midnight came, soft and hushed. The elves appeared as before, light as wishes, ready to work. But when they saw what waited for them on the workbench, they stopped completely still. For a moment there was absolute silence. Then one elf reached out with a trembling hand and touched the tiny blue shirt. The other picked up one of the small shoes, turning it over in wonder. And then something magical happened. The elves' faces transformed with pure delight. They laughed, and their laughter was like bells made of crystal and sunshine. They immediately tried on their new clothes, dancing around the workbench with such joy that the shoemaker and his wife had to hold each other tight to keep from laughing out loud themselves. The elves looked at each other in their beautiful new outfits and seemed to grow somehow brighter, more radiant. They twirled and leapt, they clapped their tiny hands, and then they began to sing. Their voices wove together in a song of gratitude that seemed to fill not just the workshop, but the whole sleeping village, the whole quiet winter night, with warmth and blessing. When their celebration finally softened into peaceful happiness, the elves looked around the workshop one last time, as if committing every detail to memory. They placed their small hands over their hearts and bowed deeply toward the cupboard where the shoemaker and his wife were hiding, as if they had known all along. They were being watched, as if they had always known they were loved. Then, light as dreams, the elves disappeared into the night, taking with them their joy and their magic, leaving behind a workshop that would always remember their presence, that would always hold the echo of their kindness. The shoemaker and his wife came out from hiding and stood together in the moonlit workshop. Though the elves were gone, they didn't feel sad. Instead, they felt blessed beyond measure, wrapped in a warmth that would last the rest of their days. They had received not just help with their work, but something far more precious. They had witnessed pure goodness, and they had been able to give something back. From that night on, the shoemaker continued making shoes with his own hands, and though they took longer to finish now, each pair carried within it the memory of kindness and magic. People came from near and far to buy shoes from the peaceful workshop at the corner of the quiet lane, drawn by something they couldn't quite name, something that felt like coming home. The shoemaker and his wife lived many more happy years, and on winter nights when snow fell soft and thick, they would sit by their fire and remember the elves. They would smile at each other, thinking of tiny feet in beautiful shoes, of small voices raised in song, of the way kindness given always finds its way back, transformed into something even more beautiful. And sometimes, on the very quietest nights, when the stars were especially bright and the air especially still, they thought they could hear, very faint and far away, the sound of joyful laughter and ancient songs, and they knew that somewhere in the great mysterious world, magic was still dancing, Kindness was still working its gentle wonders, and two small elves were still smiling as they remembered the humans who had loved them. You did well today, my little love. Now let your eyes grow heavy, and let the night wrap around you like a soft blanket. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and rest deeply.